What's up, guys? This is Manic, and I'm doing your astrological report from Monday, April 27th through Sunday, May 3rd. And as a whole, this week looks okay. It looks a little bit less tense than the past couple months as a whole, just because we have the sun in Taurus, which is generally it's a pretty chill sign, and then we've got the moon waxing from late Gemini at the very beginning of the week, and by Sunday it'll be in late Virgo. So as a whole, it looks like a good week. And yeah, let's just get into it. So April 27th, Monday, we have two planets changing signs. The moon isn't technically a planet, but in astrology we sometimes call it a planet. We've got the moon moving into Cancer around midday, Monday, depending on where you are, and then Mercury entering Taurus. So moon entering Cancer, Mercury entering Taurus. Both Cancer and Taurus are both introverted or feminine signs, so they're more chill, more about resting or relaxing. So that's kind of nice. That kind of brings a little bit of just chill energy. In general, the beginning of the week is the most uneventful part of the day. Part of the week. So just enjoy Monday and Tuesday. They're relatively uneventful. We do have Mercury late Monday, early Tuesday. Mercury will square Saturn at 1 degree of Taurus. Well, Mercury's at 1 degree Taurus, and then Saturn's at 1 degree Aquarius, and they're both making this 90-degree aspect, which is sort of a tense, stressful aspect. This technically happens, I think, early to mid Tuesday, April 28th, depending on where you are. So basically what that means is you have Mercury, which rules the mind and the mental energy. It also rules the media. And then Saturn rules our leadership, our authority figures, our government. And they're sort of butting heads, or they're disagreeing. And because Mercury's traveling very fast right now, so Mercury initiates this aspect. So basically what I see that as is the media is having a lot of negative coverage at this time of the government and of just the situation that's happening. It's up for you to decide whether the information is helpful or not. It could be bringing to light a negative situation which needs to be talked about, but on the other hand, it could just be stirring the pot and just creating some not very productive negative energy. And I don't think it's that reliable, just because Mercury is the only planet that's making this aspect with Saturn. So in other words, the media is the only theme, or the only thing now that's butting heads to this extent with the government and with this whole situation in general. So for that reason, I don't think it's entirely reliable. I think that as a whole, the media just might be kind of overly negative at this time. Because like I said, the sun and the moon are kind of in just chill, relaxed signs, and there's some harmony between them. So at least in our personal lives, things are actually kind of just chill and relaxed Monday and Tuesday. It's just the media that's clashing with the government. So that's really the only place where the negativity is for the most part. And just in general, I want to say that. So when I'm talking about these things happening in the world, they're not just happening on the world. So, for example, Mercury square Saturn could mean that the media is attacking the government, like I'm saying, but it could also mean that leaders of all kinds are being sort of scrutinized at this time, or criticized, whether it be the leader of your household, or whether it be your boss at work, or at any level. There's this criticism or this disagreement or this scrutinizing of how our leaders are handling the situation right now. And some of that might be deserved, and some of it might not be. Some of it might be productive, and some might not be. So you just have to kind of discern for yourself. But as a whole, it is kind of a negative or tense situation in general. Mercury is moving very quickly, though, so this is really just applying to late Monday and then early to mid Tuesday. Going to April 29th, Wednesday, Things generally get a little bit more heated as we get later into the week, just because as the moon approaches the end of Cancer, it makes an opposition to this cluster of planets. And like I said, this cluster of planets right here, Pluto and Jupiter toward the end of Capricorn, and then Saturn at the beginning of Aquarius. At least in my perspective, this is what's representing the government at this time, but also this whole problematic situation in general. This COVID situation is mostly represented by these three planets right here, basically. So as the moon enters, or as it transits the end of Cancer, it's making this, it's opposing this cluster of planets. So that means that there's just this beginning of a different kind of tension where maybe now on Wednesday there is some building tension between the people and the government, and just with situations in general. People are feeling emotionally uneasy. The moon rules emotions, and it's in Cancer, which is the sign of emotion, and it's opposing these planets. So people are feeling a little bit more insecure as we go into Wednesday, and generally the tension is building up. It's just the moon that's making this aspect, and the moon is very quick. So this will really just be mid to late Wednesday, April 29th. And then going into Thursday, April 30th, the tension builds up more, and then we get we get more aspects happening. So we've got this we've got the first quarter moon, which basically means that the moon and the sun are at a 90-degree angle, and it's called a, if you look at it in the sky, it's basically a half moon. It should be the right half of the moon is lit up. But it's called a quarter moon because it happens a quarter of the way through the lunar cycle. And basically what that means is the moon and the sun are sort of at odds with each other. So any square aspect that you have, you'll have one planet in an introverted sign and one planet in an extroverted sign. So the sun in Taurus is more chill. It wants to be conservative and just rest, or just, just not rock the boat, just be kind of chill. The moon in Leo is a very fiery, active sign. It wants to do something and take action, especially with this aspect. So in general, it's not a super big deal. Quarter moons happen every couple weeks. Every 2 weeks we have a quarter moon. But a lot of times, like, kids or pets might be more wound up during a quarter moon. People might stay up later at night. People are just more restless and more energized because this aspect is sort of asking us to take action in one way or another. Or even if there isn't an obvious situation to take action on, there's just this kind of restless energy Thursday. And this is even kind of more accentuated because you also have Mercury conjoining Uranus at the very exact same time, midday, April 30th on Thursday. So you have Mercury, which rules the mental energy, and then Uranus, which rules sudden shifts in awareness, or sudden unpredictable events, or sudden changes. So there's this sudden shift in awareness, and so it's a really good aspect for epiphanies, for sudden realizations, or for gaining sudden clarity or perspective on a situation, or for figuring something out, for having a new idea. A new idea might just come to you out of nowhere, so that's a really good aspect for that on Thursday. The downside is that it's very volatile, so because it's happening in the sign of Taurus, which rules money, there will probably be a lot of fluctuation in the stock market. It could go way up or way down, or both. Things are just very volatile in general, and and especially because the moon is squaring really all three of these planets, Mercury and Uranus and Taurus, and they're pretty much conjunct the sun. All three of these planets in Taurus are being squared by the moon in Leo. So there's just this restless energy, this need to take action or do something different. There might be these restless feelings coming to you, or these new ideas. You might have a breakthrough or find a new way to approach a situation in your life. Volatile stock market. Let me just make sure. Breakthroughs, sudden shifts. Yeah, I think I covered everything. This is the most volatile day of the week for sure, Thursday. And then also, it's not exact, but I thought it was worth mentioning that there's a T-square. So you got the square, like I said, between the moon and then these 3 planets in Taurus. And then with an orb of like 10 degrees, so it's kind of loose, but there's a T-square with Mars and Aquarius. So you got Moon and Leo opposing Mars in Aquarius, and they're both making square aspects with these 3 planets in Taurus. So if you could picture it, it's like 90 degree, 90 degree, and then Mars and Moon are 180 degrees apart. So it's kind of like a square aspect, but times 2 or maybe even times 3, because these planets are in signs that are completely different. These are all fixed signs, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo, but they're all in different elements. They're all Aquarius is air, Taurus is earth, and then Leo is fire. So Mars and Aquarius is more thinking about the group and about society. The Moon and Leo is more thinking about yourself or about maybe just your family. And then these planets are just more chill. Mars and Aquarius wants to take action for the group. Moon and Leo wants to take action for the self or for the family. And these 3 planets don't really want to take action. They want to just be chill and be more peaceful in Taurus. So there's this clash or this a lot of restless energy. People might be more wound up or more anxious, more energetic. And you might have, sometimes you'll have like a literal crossroads that happens where you have 2 or 3 options where you need to make a choice. With this T-square, you need to choose 1 or 2 options, and you can't choose all of them. You have to make a choice of some kind. Other times it's not a literal choice, it's just a general feeling of being pulled different directions or feeling restless. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the most restless day of the week. Going into Friday, May 1st, you still have that aspect. It's not as exact. You have Mercury is already kind of flying away from Uranus pretty quickly and approaching the Sun. And then the Moon does make that exact opposition with Mars. But in general, the T-square is kind of being broken. So basically, Friday is a continuation of the hyped up, dynamic, multifaceted energy of Thursday. But by Friday, it's the same energy. It's just not as acute. It's sort of a continuation of Thursday. And in general, I should mention that because at this point, Mercury has left the square with Saturn and it's now approaching the Sun. I do think where the beginning of the week I said the media wasn't reliable, Monday and Tuesday, the media is sort of off on its own, projecting this random negative situation or whatever. Starting sort of Thursday and then going into later this week, Mercury becomes more aligned. It's more chill in Taurus than it was in Aries the past few weeks. And now that it's not making these direct aspects with these outer planets, and it's conjoining the Sun pretty soon, the media should be more representative of what's actually going on. It should be more reliable, more accurate. People will be thinking more clearly. Mercury likes to be in Aries, where it was the past few weeks, but it has more fun in Aries, but sometimes it gets overly confident. So people might be kind of hot-headed, or they might be overly confident in their ideas. Mercury in Taurus is just more chill, and it's in Earth, which is more grounded. So people might be thinking more groundedly. The media might be more reliable. People's thoughts in general are a little bit more reliable. And I think that shift happens on Thursday. Something changes in the media and in the way people think, and then after that, it's more representative of what's actually happening. And it's more reliable. Friday, the T-square is just continuing. And then I should mention that, well, the Moon is making a quincunx with Pluto, but it's kind of a minor aspect, so not totally worth mentioning. Going into Saturday, May 2nd, things do shift a little bit. I think things shift for the better, though. It's tense Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then starting on the weekend, things get a little bit more chill, and things get a little bit more positive because the Moon goes into Virgo, which is an Earth sign, and so it's trining these 3 planets over in Taurus, which is also an Earth sign. So the moon in Virgo is providing some grounded, positive, reinforcing energy to these planets in Taurus. So basically, just to backtrack a little bit, Thursday we have this volatility in the stock market, but by Saturday there should be some positive support to the financial situation. Maybe a little bit of groundedness. You have Mercury leaving Uranus and almost conjoining the Sun, so things might be a little bit more reliable by Saturday, or more grounded, or more practical, more strong, and not just scattered as much. At least on Saturday. Yeah, Moon in Virgo wants to kind of be more orderly and take care of business, be more practical, and be more in the moment, and not so hyped up, not so theatrical. Sunday, though, we have this interesting aspect. We have another T-square, actually. The moon makes another T-square. This time, it's a little bit different, though. It's happening in mutable signs, and it's between the moon at 23 degrees Virgo, opposing Neptune at 20 degrees. Actually, I should say it's just before this. So it's moon at 20 degrees Virgo, Neptune at 20 degrees Pisces, and then Venus at 20 degrees Gemini. So unlike the T-square that happens on Thursday, the T-square that happens on Sunday is more exact. It's exactly at 20 degrees of 3 mutable signs. However, it's a little bit less intense just because the fire element isn't involved, and fire is very energetic and like fiery, obviously. So you don't have the fiery element involved, which makes it a little bit more chill. But then also, the T-square that happened on Thursday involved the Mercury-Uranus conjunction, and conjunctions are intense too. And plus more planets were involved. So in general, Sunday there is a T-square, but it's a little bit more chill. However, it is more acute because it's exact. So, and it's a quick moving aspect because it's initiated by the moon. So Sunday there might be a little event that takes place. This is 9 o'clock on Sunday, and I honestly don't know what time zone this is. So depending on where you are, it'll either be sometime in the morning probably, or early afternoon. But there might be a literal manifestation or a literal event happening. Okay, and what would that event be? So basically it's a T-square again, so you still have, the 90-degree square between the moon and Venus, 90-degree square between Venus and Neptune, and then the 180-degree opposition between the moon and Neptune. And so they're all in the same mode, but different elements. They're all immutable signs. Mutable signs are changeable, they're adaptable, they want to react to what's happening, but they have different ideas of how to react to what's happening. So the moon in Virgo wants to react logically and be practical, and make a to-do list and be organized and respond to the situation in a responsible way. Neptune in Pisces is the complete opposite of that. It more wants us to just be possibly delusional, or to be more escapist, to just escape into some alcohol or some binge on a TV series, or just go meditate or something and kind of just forget about what's happening. And then you have Venus in Gemini, which wants to be sociable and wants to enjoy intellectual pleasures, wants to enjoy some intellectual stimulation or some interesting conversation. So the challenge is, how do you satisfy all three of these? Because they're pulling you in different directions on Sunday. How can you indulge in your escapist tendencies and also enjoy the intellectual pleasantries of life, and then also be orderly and responsible? So if you can somehow choose all three, if you can somehow find a balance on Sunday where you have, maybe make time for yourself, where you do escape into something, but you also can get organized a little bit. Reading is a good way to combine, to be both practical and logical, as well as escapist a little bit. Like reading would be good, or maybe meditating, something that's healthy, that sort of activates all three. Actually, reading would kind of tick all three boxes because it's logical, practical, orderly, as well as intellectually stimulating, maybe, as well as escapist. So something like that where you're satisfying these three different methods to reacting to the situation, basically. Be practical, but then also make time for yourself. Maybe be sociable, but also make time for yourself. Something like that. In general, there might be situations where you're juggling multiple different things. It's a T-square again, so you might be a crossroads. You might have multiple options where you have to choose one. Something like that on Sunday. And with the mutable energy, there's just a lot of different things going on in general because within one mutable sign, you already have kind of a lot of different things going on. You already have a dynamic energy. So you're combining three dynamic energies. So there should be just a lot of different things going on. But it's just the moon, so it's a quick aspect. And I think I should mention too, so toward the end of the week, Sunday, and going after Sunday, the moon sort of activates this loose grand trine in the earth signs, which is really nice. So it moons in Virgo. It's 4 to 7 degrees away from trining Pluto and Jupiter in Capricorn, and then on the other side, it's several degrees away from trining Sun, Mercury, and Uranus. So they're all sort of making this loose grand trine. So there should be some positive developments regarding this big situation, regarding the situation which I don't even need to name because we're all aware, but there should be some positive developments, and this is a theme that's sort of beginning on Sunday. It's activated by the moon, and the moon will quickly leave, and then going into next week it'll enter Libra, but the Sun and Mercury are beginning to trine Pluto and Jupiter, and this is probably the most positive aspect I've seen in a few months. A month ago, the Sun was squaring the situation, so things were just getting more tense and hyped up regarding this big situation. And before that, everything was in Pisces, so we were all confused. Now everything is in Taurus, and so it's actually aligning with what's happening. And the moon transiting through the end of Virgo just kind of activates that. So I do think, just to reiterate, Monday, Tuesday, things are generally chill, although Mercury is negative, so the mind is negative, media is negative, but everything else is chill. The media might not be super reliable. It's kind of just hyping things up and being negative. Maybe with a good cause, maybe not so much. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, things are really intense, with the most intensity happening on Thursday. T-square being pulled different directions, etc. Friday gets a little bit more relaxed. Saturday is the most chill day where moon's in Virgo. Things get a little bit more calm. There's this beginning of some productive situations or some progress being made with this larger situation. And then Sunday you do have that brief T-square, so being pulled different directions. How do you manage all these different needs or different situations? So it looks like an interesting week. It's nothing too extreme. It is tense toward the end of the week, but nothing we can't handle for sure, especially compared to where we've been the past few months. And in general, we're approaching a transition. It gets really interesting. Next week, the nodes switch signs, and then also later into May, multiple planets are going to be starting to move retrograde. So, things will shift a lot in May. And in general, just real quick, all the planets are direct right now except Pluto, and Pluto only went retrograde a few days ago. So all the planets have pretty much been direct for over a month. So that means that there's been constantly new situations happening. Even if you've just stayed home lately, there's still been new developments happening constantly. There's tons of new things happening. We're in new uncharted territory. So next month, things are going to be starting to go retrograde. So things are going to be shifting and changing direction. It's going to be really interesting, especially with the nodes changing signs. But I think that's all I have for you. So yeah, hang in there, and should be a good week. I do think things are starting to get better. I really like the trine with the moon, with all these Taurus planets, and then the grand trine that kind of happens. So I think we're at a turning point. I think we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, kind of. So yeah, that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.